We talk about books a lot on this book-related podcast, but we almost never talk about short stories. So that's what we're doing today. Welcome back to the Life and Books podcast. My name is Tony. With me, as always, it's Andy, a.k.a. Metafictional Meathead. Andy, how are you?
I'm doing great, Tony.
Fantastic.
As usual, we're going to be doing something we do quite often, talking about things we don't really read. So
Right. I'm probably just barely, by a smidge, more well-read with short stories than I am poetry, which anyone who listened to our poetry episode knows is not zero.
Yeah.
Or was zero at the time.
Was zero.
Before we get into our weekly reading update and then the main topic of today's discussion, I do want to address something, as I love to do. So the last episode was a bit divisive. People from all ends of spectrums had things to say. But one comment that we got probably more than anything were very supportive comments saying like, oh, you don't have to respond to these people and don't give it any energy. So I want to make a couple things clear. First, I appreciate the support 100%. However, we do this every week pretty much. Coming up with discussion topics is difficult at times. We don't want to just rehash the same, here's our 5 favorite books or whatever.
Right.
So I felt that it was a worthwhile discussion to have.
Yeah.
And it's not that we were responding to one single person, because we have received other commentary over the last 2 years similar to that.
Right.
This was just kind of a good jumping off point.
Yeah, it prompted a good discussion.
Yeah. And so just a couple things. So like, again, appreciate the support, but I didn't feel like I needed to defend myself in any way.
Right.
I was like, sweet, we have an idea for a podcast. And two, just a fair warning to anyone, unless you specifically say to me, please do not disclose this to anybody else, anything you say to me, I will potentially use as a piece of content. So just a fair warning. That goes for
anything you say or do can be used against you in the court of podcasting.
Correct. So with that out of the way, what have you been reading lately, Andrew?
Pretty much the same as the last 2, 3, 4 weeks. Hammering away at Gesell Dome and by Guillermo Saccomanno. And
translated by whom?
Don't remember.
Seth is mad. Okay, go ahead.
And the combinations by Louis Armand, trying to wrap them up so that I can focus on Schadenfreude, which my copy should have arrived by the time this episode is live. Especially want to get the combinations out of the way. I'm mostly enjoying it.
Okay.
Some of it still doesn't make like any sense to me.
Yep.
I think I said on a previous episode that as a fan of big, challenging, demanding books that aren't easily explained, I'm glad it exists, and I'm mostly enjoying reading it. But I think it probably could have benefited from some heavier editing.
Sure.
But maybe that'll change. I've got about 100 pages left, so maybe that'll change as things hopefully kind of come together. I have a feeling they really won't, based on the type of book it is. And I don't mean that as a criticism. I just think based on the type of book it is, and that it's just going to be a little bit more ambiguous. But since that one takes some effort, I kind of want to get close to the end so that I'm not trying to balance that and Schadenfreude at the same time.
Yeah.
Gesell Dome, well, I'm very much enjoying it. It's a great book. It's an easier read. It's an easy one to kind of pick up and go. It's just kind of this, like, the way it's written is kind of this like mosaic of all the people that live in this villa.
Yeah.
And there's not like chapter breaks, but it's told in these vignettes, and there's pauses in the text. I had about half an hour or so to read before I came over here this morning, so I got a good chunk of that in. But it's also a good one if you only have 10 minutes. Read 5 or 6 pages or whatever. Just read a handful of the little stories or tales and then put it down. So sometimes that'll be like my before workbook. Just read for like 10 minutes while my breakfast burrito is warming up, type of deal. But I think that one I'll be able to balance with Schadenfreude. So, but yeah, just trying to get caught up on stuff so I can give that my attention. Obviously, I've been very excited about it, and it's finally showing up. So
Cool.
yeah,
Sweet. I've also mostly been reading some of the same books that I've been talking about. However, I did finish Moby Dick
yeehaw
by Herman, and we'll be doing some content around that at some point soon, I imagine. I started Gifted by Suzuki. This is from Transit Books. They publish a lot of works in translation. This
cool.
is translated by Allison Markin Powell. This is about a woman who her mother's basically in like palliative care. She's going to pass away, and she's balancing kind of like taking care of her mom with her like nightlife in the seedy underbelly of Tokyo's red light district.
Okay.
So I read the first 20 or so pages, kind of neutral on it so far. Nothing really of significant note to mention there. Still making my way through How to Quiet a Vampire by Borislav Pekic. I'm about 2/3 of the way through that. It's very good. It's just very dense and bleak and dark. So I can only read like 1 or 2 chapters a day. It's just a little overwhelming. And then I started Anniversaries, Volume 1 by Uwe Johnson.
Yeehaw.
Doing it in line with the dates, which is already proving to be a little challenging because like some of the entries are like a page.
Right.
And so you're like, okay, I want to keep reading, but I want to stay on schedule with the group because we're reading it as a buddy read in the book club. And I'm almost 3/4 of the way through the Kukotsky Enigma by Ludmila Ulitskaya, which is and translated by Dynamic Ignishev. And I forgot to mention the translator on Anniversaries. I don't know who it is. It is... Where the hell is the translator? Come on, people, make it obvious. Oh, Damien Searles. And
okay. He translated most of, if not all of, Jan Foss's work.
Oh, cool. The Kukotsky Enigma. So it's split into 4 parts.
Mm-hmm.
Part 1 was kind of your classic Russian epic, multi-generational.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then part 2 is like an episode of Star Trek. that Katie from the book club mentioned that. And once I got to it, I was like, oh, she's spot on. Very bizarre.
Okay.
Didn't love it. I think a lot of people didn't like it. And then for part 3, I haven't started yet, but I've gotten through part 2. But for part 3, people were saying it goes back to the normal narrative. Very weird.
Okay.
So, yeah. That's all I got for this week.
Okay.
For my reading update. So let's talk about short stories. I have a mix of short story collections that I've read and short story collections that I want to read for a total of 5 books I'll be talking about today.
Okay.
How's your ratio?
So I brought 10 books with me.
Oh,
well, you know how it is. Once you start making the stack, it kind of just grows.
Yeah.
I have 5 of each, 5 that I've read, 5 that I would like to read.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the collections I brought, there's just like 1 or 2 stories that really affected me that I wanted to maybe not talk about in depth, but at least mention.
Mm-hmm.
And then others, the kind of the whole collection. So yeah, I think, I'm certainly not an avid short story reader. I've clearly read more than you.
Yeah. I think the 2 I have in my stack might be the only 2 I've read in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I know that I've read some like Hemingway short stories probably like 10 years ago or more.
Yeah.
I don't really recall which ones or whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't really comb through my library that much to like be like, oh yeah, I've read that. So I just grabbed the 2 that were on the top of my mind.
Yeah.
And I could definitely read more short stories for sure.
They're one of those things that I think I like the idea of them more than I've actually enjoyed reading them. Mm-hmm. I've certainly read plenty that I was like, oh, that was good. But within an hour of finishing the story, don't really think about it that much anymore.
Well, you had even said to me yesterday, you go, do you want to just talk about specific short stories, not whole collections, if that's easier? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because similar to you, every short story collection I've read, I feel like while I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, yeah, this is good. But then afterwards, I'm not like, oh, man, I'm still thinking about that one short story from that collection.
Right.
I only kind of vaguely recall the short stories in the collections that I'm going to talk about today. I think it's a cool art form, and it is very impressive if an author can write a very impactful short story. I just, for whatever reason, it's not a medium that really like clicks with me, I guess.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I said, like I I like the idea of it. I like this thought that an author can put something together in 5 pages to some of the ones a couple of the individual ones I want to talk about are more like novella length.
Yeah.
Can kind of really tell a story and say a lot within a shorter page count. But there are other times where, I read it and think it's good. It doesn't really really click and leave like a lasting effect, like some novels that I've read. Which part of it is just my taste as a reader. It's certainly not a criticism of short stories themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. All right, so let's start with the ones that we've read.
Okay.
What do you want to kick things off with?
I will kick things off with In the Heart of the Country by friend of the program, William H. Gass.
I wish.
Yeah, that would be cool.
R.I.P.
But really, the first story in this is much more of a like novella. Let's see what's the table of contents. It's about almost 80 pages long. It's the Peterson Kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's about this kid, like a family, and they're in kind of a it's kind of a similar time period to something like Omensetter's Luck.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of a rural family on like a homestead. They're in the Midwest, presumably. It's the middle of winter. It's terrible out. And the like the father, the patriarch of the family is like a drunk. And that causes issues, as you can imagine. And then someone shows up that kind of leads them to believe that something sketchy is going on at like a neighboring farm or house or whatever you want to call it. So a couple of them go ride out to check that out, and it just kind of becomes a whole thing. But it's just kind of classic Gass and like the writing style, where the writing itself is very good. It's certainly more, I would say, narratively driven than some of Gass's other work.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really captivating. There are some of the other stories that are in this collection that they're good, but it is more of what you would expect from Gass, where he's kind of, I don't want this to sound critical, but like flexing his writerly chops as opposed to writing a compelling narrative.
Yeah.
There's certainly something there, but it's more of the background than anything else.
How does the writing style of the Peterson Kid compare to something like Omensetter's Luck?
I would say it has some of the similarities, but there's definitely, it's not as, I mean, the Omensetter's Luck's not exactly maximalist. I mean, I know there's lots of like stream of consciousness, but it doesn't really have any of that in Peterson Kid. There's a lot of it where it's very like terse,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of to the point, especially some of the dialogue. Just they're hard-nosed farmers, so to speak, or rural characters in the dead of winter in the middle of nowhere. People that typically don't have a ton to say, and that carries over. So
cool. Sounds like it's an easier read.
Yeah.
Nice. I was going to put that on my list of short story collections that I want to read, but I had a feeling that you were going to include it today.
Yeah.
With the books that you...
One other book that I want to shout out that I realized I totally spaced on that was very good was Oblivion by David Foster Wallace.
Oh, cool.
That collection plays along with a lot of the ideas that I think Wallace was trying to get at, especially post Infinite Jest, this just kind of idea of like choosing what you can pay attention to.
Yeah.
And that idea of consciousness. And it was some of the stories are tough, both in terms of their content, the density of the writing, and then, I mean, it's Wallace, so none of them are short stories. Most of them are novella length.
Yeah.
There's one that's only like 3 to 5 pages, but the rest of them are at least 20.
Yeah.
So, which not a criticism by any means, but you know, it's not one where, at least for me, it wasn't one where I was going to like read multiple stories in a day. Some of the stories took a couple of days because just,
100
pages. Yeah. I'll read like half of it, go back, finish it the next day type of deal.
Yeah. It kind of begs the question, like, what is a short story versus a novella?
Yeah.
I guess probably how it's decided to be published. Like, if it's published on its own,
right,
you'd call it a novella, like Train Dreams by Dennis Johnson. That's 100 pages, 115 pages. I mean,
right.
You could have put that in a short story collection.
Right.
So, speaking of, actually, we'll get to that later. So the first one that I've read that I'll talk about is At Night He Lifts Weights by Kang Young-sook, translated by Janet Hong. This is a work of Korean literature, and I stupidly somehow didn't notice that this was short stories when I picked it up.
Huh.
So I thought they were just like chapters, and then like I got into the second short story, and I was like, what is happening here? And I'm like, oh, this is not a chapter. This is a short story. But they're good. They all take place in Korea, and a lot of it focuses on, I guess, some of the severe environmental issues that they face in South Korea. A lot of pollution. Mm-hmm. They may have had some sort of nuclear incident similar to what we've had here in California, and not to the level of like a Chernobyl, but yeah, I really enjoyed this. It was like while I'm reading it, I'm like, this is cool. And then if you put a gun to my head right now and said, explain what these stories are about, I'd be like, I remember some details of some of them.
Yeah.
But it's got the typical kind of very terse and up close and personal type sentences, like short, punchy sentences that are also quite dry, that I find to be fairly typical in Korean writing. Mm-hmm. I don't really have too much more to say about it because
This is going to be our shortest episode yet.
It's fitting though, short episode for short stories. But yeah, like if somebody asked, like, should I read this? I would say yes. I remember enjoying it. I think the one that probably stands out the most to me is the first one, which is about this guy that works at a factory job, and like he's just kind of like lonely and miserable. Even though I think, if I remember correctly, he was married, but his like wedding or his wife was not really like super connected to him, and vice versa. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. I would definitely read more from her as an author, though. So,
right on.
What do you got next?
My next is another one that I have read and really enjoyed, and that is The Taker and Other Stories by Rubem Fonseca, and that is translated from the Portuguese by Clifford E. Landers. And this is from our good friends at Open Letter Books.
Portuguese. Is he Brazilian or Portuguese or
Brazilian.
African?
Brazilian.
Gotcha. Apparently, I didn't know this, but Portuguese is spoken as a first language in a few African countries.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, I didn't know that until we talked about it the other day. I mentioned Portuguese.
The original Portuguese don't get their credit for being colonizers as much as the other Anglo-Saxon nations, but they certainly have a history of it.
Yes.
But anyway, this is obviously a collection of short stories.
Mind-blowing.
They're all kind of about sort of this seedy underbelly of Rio de Janeiro, just kind of some of the violence and deception that takes place. Some of them are straight up shocking. Some of them are, funny and clever. Some of them are a little bit of both. So just kind of, there were some gasps. But I was drawn to Fonseca as an author. Someone commented in like an older episode we did. I don't remember what the topic was or anything like that. But apparently Fonseca and our good pal Thomas Pynchon were pen pals.
Oh.
Someone was like, hey, you should check him out. Him and Pynchon were close, blah, blah, blah.
How do I become a Thomas Pynchon pen pal?
Yeah, right. There is a blurb from Pynchon on the cover.
Nice.
Each of Fonseca's books is not only a worthwhile journey, it is also in some way a necessary one.
Okay.
So, but yeah, just a really, really awesome collection.
I'm surprised Tommy Ruggles didn't call it a tour de force.
And these are definitely short stories. The longest is 30 pages.
Cool.
This whole collection is 166. So,
as with most open letter books, so many of their books are quite short and very experimental.
yeah.
I saw you got some flags in there. Is there anything worth pointing out?
Let's see.
Everyone always loves it when you read to us.
Yeah, we'll read this one. I don't know if it'll make any sense outside of the context of the story, or
Yeah.
without the context, but
YOLO.
that thought numbs my body as if I had already ceased to exist. I feel neither pain nor sadness, merely a kind of dread, the dread of one who no longer has a body and lacks the solid notion of inhabiting a form, a structure, a volume, as if I had lost the material and become spirit alone or mind. That's impossible, but it's what I felt when, without pain or other agonies forewarning my end, I suspected for the first time that I might only have a few months to live.
I'm in.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
So, yeah. The other one I had was like just a sentence that I don't even remember. Okay, here's another longer one. Hopefully this will be the same. Where's the old man I used to be? My skin is still dry, tissue hanging loosely on my bones. My penis an arid and empty strip of flesh. My sphincter muscles don't work. My memory only records what it wants to. I have no teeth or hair or breath or strength. That's how my body is, but I'm no longer that shameful blubberer, frightened and unhappy, whose greatest desire in life was to eat a piece of chocolate. That old being was imposed upon me by a corrupt and vicious society, by an evil system that forces millions of human beings into a parasitic, marginal, and miserable life. I refuse to accept that monstrous torment. I shall await death in the worthiest manner.
Well, it's got phallic talk, which explains why you and Thomas Pynchon like it so much. But also quite beautiful.
Yeah.
So I'd read it.
Yeah, it's definitely a good one. Worth checking out.
Since you have twice as many books as I do, why don't you do another one here?
Sure. So this is another one that there was like really one kind of novella length piece that stuck out to me that I often talk about as one of my favorite pieces of short fiction. The collection itself is The Rainbow Stories by William T. Vollmann. One of the first books that he published. But really the story that blew me away was The Blue Yonder, which is about a serial killer that goes around the Tenderloin and San Francisco in general, killing homeless people by making them ingest Drano.
Great.
and it's bonkers.
That sounds interesting.
But yeah, it's
Are all the stories in that collection like thematically linked, or?
they're all sort of thematically linked in the sense that they all kind of take place in San Francisco.
Sure.
And he could just, in typical Vollmann fashion, like kind of, I don't want to keep rehashing this phrase, the seedy underbelly, but kind of the dregs of society,
Yeah.
the less prominent.
I mean, there are seedy underbellies all over the world. So
Yeah, there's
if the shoe fits.
right. There's a story about like a group of skinheads. There's multiple stories about prostitutes, just things like that, like the kind of the lower classes, so to speak, the
Sure.
kind of trodden and forgotten.
Yeah.
But they all kind of play with this idea of the color. So obviously, the Rainbow Stories is the
Gotcha.
title, but there's a different within the stories. They're all kind of they all sort of follow, like, I don't say thematically, like a specific color. But obviously, the Blue Yonder, like Drano is blue. You kind of think about someone dying, looking up at the great beyond of the empty blue sky type deal. But just to kind of go through some of the titles: The White Knights, Red Hands, Ladies in Red Lights, Scintillant Orange, Yellow Rose, Yellow Sugar, The Green Dress. The Green Dress is another great story. That one's about 30 pages. The Blue Wallet, The Blue Launder, The Indigo Engineers, Violet Hair, X-Ray Visions.
Cool.
So, but this, like I said, I think was one of the first works Vollmann had published. Let's see if I can find. So it was originally published in 1989, which would have been 2 or 3 years after You Bright and Risen Angels. And I don't know how much time passed, but this was post the Atlas. But this is one that I recommend to a lot of people as like a good entry point for Vollmann. Like I said, that kind of focus on the outcasts of society is certainly a common theme throughout all of his work. But what really gets into the nitty gritty here, and it's really like classic Vollmann.
Yeah, I've still yet to read anything from him.
Shocking to me.
I mean, the guy's written so much too.
Yeah.
All right. So the only other book that I have today, Jesus, you all right over there?
Yeah, I'm good.
That I've read of short stories is The Trees Grew Because I Bled There by Eric LaRocca, who is a horror author, which is a genre I almost never read. He's also a New England author. And this one's got an introduction by Chuck Wendig, who I think is a notable horror author.
I wouldn't know.
Same. I actually think I have one of Chuck Wendig's books that I got it like out of like a discount bin for like a couple bucks. That sounded interesting. So, but I don't know anything about it. So you've read this as well.
Yes.
I recall, and I really enjoyed it. Again, short stories aren't normally what I read. Horror is not normally what I read, but one of those kind of funny situations where you combined two things like that, and I really enjoy it.
Yeah, you came about it. I don't remember how. If it was just...
I think I saw it, and I was like, that's a cool title.
Yeah. And then you were like, this was really good. You should read it. I borrowed it. I felt the same way.
Yeah.
Certainly a lot of narrative tension in the stories that really kind of drew you in.
Yeah, it's not horror in the sense of like, boo, I was scared of you, and monsters and
Right.
supernatural. It's more like psychological
You're just
thrillers.
like on edge the whole time.
Yeah.
Kind of with some of the stories, just like waiting for the shoe to drop.
Yeah. And Eric LaRocca is gay, and the stories feature, quite a few of the stories feature gay characters. And I think it was used in a very interesting way that really made the stories themselves more unique. And unlike the other book that I've mentioned today that I've read, I do actually recall more of the details of this, which I think maybe just speaks to connecting with it better. But there's one in here. The ones that I thought were really, really disturbing is the one where the woman's like contemplating throwing the baby into the fire. Obviously, pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
And then the one where they're at the resort and the guy's like, seems like he's blackmailing the other dude and his daughter's going to get killed. And then the whole event kind of unfolds.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, really?
The one I remember the most is the couple that goes to the park.
Yes, that one's good too.
And then
they kind of get blackmailed.
Yeah. I don't want to give more away than that.
It's hard to talk about them without spoiling them.
Right. But yeah, that one was fucked up.
Yeah, and I will say it's actually quite impressive how a writer can, in a short amount of pages, like really grab a hold of you, and you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen?
Right.
I have one or two of his other books, but I haven't gotten around to reading them yet. I should, because I did really like that, and he's been pretty prolific too. Like he's been having a pretty high output. So he's got a few short story collections. I think at this point he's got a few novels out as well, and then I think he was also like writing and directing like a stage play or something like that. So
that's cool.
Yeah. He's a cool guy. Super friendly. We actually were going to try to get him on the podcast, but then we had some scheduling issues. I should circle back to that. So, cool. All right. What do you got next?
All right. I'll just rattle through these next two that I have read. This first one, I don't have a ton to say about. I really enjoyed the collection, but it's not one that, left like as much of a lasting impression as some of this author's, as most of this author's novels have. But I have the complete stories of Clarice Lispector. So
A Woman So Woke of You.
Just a woman in translation. I think these were, yeah. So, okay. So all of the stories were translated from the Portuguese by Katrina Dodson. I don't know off the top of my head if they were like all retranslated for this specific edition, or if she had just happened to be the translator for the individual collections.
Oh, because this is like a compendium, like a
yeah. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 collections of stories in here. So again, I don't know if Dodson translated all of them when they were published in English. I'm not even sure if all of these were. I know some of these had been individually published, just collection by collection. Some of them might have just been, translated specifically for this kind of compendium. But a lot of great stories in here, especially with what I've talked about before about Lispector, just kind of this metaphysical curiosity about the splendor of life and yada yada, all that fun existential stuff, and certainly some of the stories, like she does that in really succinct form. So this is another great place to start for anyone that's curious about Lispector's work. Certainly doesn't have to be the whole complete edition that I have, but like some of her short stories, just a great place to kind of get your feet wet without really having to commit to a full novel.
Yeah, with a collection that long, I mean, you could certainly read a few, put it down, come back to it a month later.
Right.
And unless they are all narratively linked in some way, there's not a whole lot of reason you need to read it start to finish all the way through in a short amount of time.
Right.
I think that's pretty long. How long is that?
It's over 600 pages.
Yeah, so that's
it's 650. Well, let's see. Yeah, so the actual text of stories itself is about 630 pages, and then there's just some like.
Is that a New Directions?
Yeah,
yeah.
Some additional information about her, but yeah, it's a great one. I would say if you've never read any Lispector, like read a collection.
Yeah.
go back to it, put it down, go back to it, or whatever.
That's the type of thing where it would be fun to just like read one a week.
Yeah, but if you've got experience with Lispector, then certainly something like that where you read one a day or one a week or what have you.
Speaking of new directions, I really wanted to get back to procuring discounts for the book club. We did that with NYRB. We've done it with Open Letter. And I was asking, I put a poll up in the Discord about which publishers would you be most interested in. And I was just looking through kind of some of the catalogs of the publishers that we already love. Man, I got to say, New Directions kills it.
Yeah.
Their catalog is insane. There's so many books.
They've got so many books out.
So many books that I'm like, I want to read that. I want to read that.
Yeah.
I mean, all the publishers that we kind of stan have great catalogs, but they just have a fantastic lineup. And I haven't read a ton of New Direction books. I've read a few, but I would have to say of the ones I've read, like, they are really good.
Yeah, they're awesome too in the sense that they kind of ride that line of transgressive, experimental, avant-garde, and then stuff that's normal is the wrong word, but like a more traditional novella, short story collection or novel where there's, not to diminish the writing, but it's not anything experimental or anything like that. Like, you know, there might be some peculiarities within the narrative, but it's nothing like crazy transgressive or unheard of.
A lot of stuff that is considered a classic of wherever it's from.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week, but we've both read Minor Detail now, which is a really we could have probably included it today. That's less than 100 pages.
Yeah.
It's like 98 pages maybe. And packs a punch.
They did Love and Terror.
They did Love and Terror, which is one of my favorite books.
Right. But to
good
go
luck
back
finding it.
To go back to what I was saying, like that's an aggressive book.
That's a transgressive
That
book,
is, yeah,
for sure.
That is straight up. It's hardcore.
Yeah.
And then they've got some other books.
They did almost all of Asuma Dazai's translated works, the Japanese author, No Longer Human.
Yeah. They published Krasna Horkai.
Right. Miroslav Kurleja's On the Edge of Reason. I read that last year. That was fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, they have an incredible collection. Somebody in the club had actually said that.
I believe they've published a lot of John Hawkes.
Oh, really?
They've done some of Dasa Drinjic's work.
Nice.
So
yeah, someone in the club had mentioned that they don't think that there's, at least publicly, a comprehensive list of all of their titles, because they've been publishing for a while.
Yeah.
And so obviously these publishers don't publish everything forever. And all of their books are numbered, right? Like
right.
What's that one? It's like NDP
1409.
Yeah. So someone in the book club is actually trying to create
a full
catalog
That's
list
cool.
by number. So
I wonder what NDP 1 is.
I don't know. We'll have to, maybe I can reach out to them and get somebody from like their editor on the podcast or something. I think that would be cool.
Yeah.
So anywho, go do one more here.
My last book, would be remiss to not mention this author while talking about short stories. In my opinion, kind of the master of the form. That would be Jorge Luis Borges. I have his whole collected fictions here.
Mr. Borges. Ooh, Deckled Edges.
Yes, sir.
Love it.
I've read this twice now.
Wait, are you team Deckled Edges or no?
I'm pretty neutral.
Unallowed. You can't fence it on this issue.
It depends to me.
Okay.
Like there are some, like this book, like, yeah, it has deckled edges, but like it's easy to turn the pages. I don't feel like, it doesn't feel weird in my hands while I'm holding it. But there are others, you know, one of my copies of Gravity's Rainbow was like that. It's the same way. It doesn't feel uncomfortable in the hand.
Yeah.
Easy to turn the pages. And then there are others where I think they just like overdo it.
Sure.
And it just feels clunky and kind of difficult to turn. And you get kind of caught on it, and you're always turning like 3 pages at a time when you mean to turn 1. But
serious problems.
I think it's cool with a book like this for Borges in the sense that deckled edges are kind of how things used to be published when it was all like more manually printing.
Yeah.
And then you'd have to fold the page that you'd print out like one big scroll, and then you had to fold it and then cut it to get the individual pages of the book.
Yeah. That just reminded me of before we hit record, Andy and I were talking about the new Mark Maron special, which neither of us thought was that great.
Yeah.
There was some funny moments, but I was thinking about the part where he's talking about his mom folding the lunch bag.
Oh, yeah.
And how she couldn't do it, and she would just like scrunch it up.
Yeah.
Which is exactly how I used to do it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
But
Borges, let's talk about the
there's
short stories.
So many awesome stories.
Are there multiple translators?
No, I don't think so. These are all translated by Andrew Hurley. And to the best of my knowledge, they were translated for this specific issue.
Gotcha.
I think if you go and look at like Labyrinths is another book of Borges that includes multiple short story collections. I think those might have a different translator. I'm not 100% sure. I know I had talked to someone that said, at least I had said something about like I was reading this edition, and they had said Hurley didn't really do it justice in their opinion.
Gotcha.
That's kind of what I'm basing all of that context on. So I could be wrong.
I've come to the realization that translating is a very contentious issue. And I feel like every translator, regardless of their skill level, their accolades, whatever, there's criticism of their work.
Yeah. Which
it's almost like an impossible, thankless task.
It is. And Seth, let me see if I can pull it up, because Seth shared something on Instagram recently that kind of
well, while you're looking for that, I mean, obviously we had Max Lawton on,
right,
and that caused a whole cascade of commentary. And then we're looking at possibly having Deborah Smith on, who's a translator of Hong Kong, the Nobel Prize winner. And before I had reached out to her, I just wanted to get a little more information about her career and everything. And I was reading her Wikipedia page, and I guess there was like a pretty scathing review of her translation of The Vegetarian from a Korean critic. But the interesting thing about it is Hong Kong herself said, "I stand by the translation." It's just kind of interesting.
So here's what Seth shared. Excuse me. The gulf of meaning between the terms horseplay and pony play illustrate why expecting your culture's translation of another's ancient text to be 100% true to their original intent is dangerous and probably not a good idea. And someone responded to that.
That was something that Seth had said?
He shared it.
Okay, gotcha.
Someone posted it. He shared it. Someone responded to that little blurb that I just read. Bless me, Father, I have sinned versus sorry, Daddy, I've been bad. And then someone may I add also butt dial versus booty call versus bottom text.
What's a bottom text?
Like just like on a caption, like on a meme, like the bottom text.
Oh, gotcha. I was thinking like a text message.
And then someone added to that, hand job versus manual labor.
Great.
Like,
yeah.
But that kind of shows, like, in theory, all of those should mean relatively the same thing.
Yeah.
In actuality, they're all very different.
I'll take a moment to plug the book club here. So we're worldwide.
Yeah.
And one of our kind of mainstay members is Karin from Germany. and she is fantastically well read, a very, very intelligent person, multilingual as most Germans are. She speaks English and German and Italian, and I want to say maybe a little French. Karen, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But she made a really great point about the difficulties of translating someone like William Gass into German.
I'm sure.
So she actually read Middle C with both texts, the German translation and the original English. And she both said that it was a difficult task for the translator, but also she felt there were some instances where they didn't do a good job, and she had some great examples of that. And what she said had made a lot of sense to me. So, for example, there were multiple instances of tortilla sentences. Are you familiar with this concept? There might be an actual term for it. There is an actual term for it, but I can't think of what it is off the top of my head. But it's basically where you use the word "and" instead of a comma.
Uh-huh.
So I'm mad and upset and disappointed, rather than like I'm mad, upset, and disappointed. You know what I mean? Like
there is a real term for that.
There is. I'm totally blanking
so
on it.
mad at myself that I don't know it because I remember
yeah,
I know I've learned it.
Yeah. But anywho, so like she had said that the translator had chosen to not do that. And I guess in German, they almost never speak that way. And I would say in our spoken language, in English, it's not that common, but people sometimes will do it in spoken word for emphasis. But it's pretty common in writing, English writing. And she was saying like it was weird that the author wouldn't choose to do that just because it's not common in German. Like Germans would have read it and thought, well, that's a little strange, but also this is translated from English. So
right. It is called polysyndeton.
Thank you. I remember it was difficult to pronounce.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes, but
thank you for leaving the pronunciation up to me.
Yes, our resident pronouncer. So, but what she had one very interesting thing, getting to the point here, was she had said that there was mention of a. So he was talking. The narrator was talking, or the protagonist was talking about his brother-in-law, and Gass had said his brother outlaw, like to imply like a negative connotation to this person, right? But she's like, in German, we don't have the phrase in-law. Like that is we use a different term for that concept. So the way that the translator wrote it was like a little clunky, but probably like the best you could do. But there's just no way to really like succinctly or poetically convey the same wordplay that Gass had used in the original language. And there's probably a lot of that when it gets translated from another language into English as well.
I'm sure.
Back when I used to train at the weightlifting gym in Maine, which was all Central and South Americans, I heard all kinds of sayings spoken in English that I was like, I have no idea what that means.
Right.
I know what all of those words mean, but I have no idea what you're trying to convey to me.
Right.
Because it was like a direct translation of a phrase that they have.
Yeah.
That I'm like, what is that? So.
Well, I had said this before. Imagine trying to translate Infinite Jest into another language. Like that book is full of idioms and cliches.
Right.
Intentionally.
Right.
That are going to be just lost.
So she had said that the guy that translated Middle C actually has translated a lot of those postmodern and maximalist works. Like he's translated almost all of Pynchon's work from English into German. And so she was kind of surprised. She's like, I thought this guy would have done a better job considering some of the...
Yeah.
But again, I think all of her points are valid, but also I think it is easy to criticize because it is such a difficult thing to do.
Right.
And everyone has their own opinion on how they would approach it.
Right.
So, all right, moving on to books that I have yet to read that I would like to. So again, I'm going to plug the book club because we're doing Short Story September. And the book that we are reading for that is Flowers of Mold by Ha Seong-nan and translated by... I think this might also be a Janet Hong. It is, Janet Hong. Translated from the Korean. So same translator as the woman who did At the Night He Lifts Weights by Kang Young-sook. So our club members vote on the read. You and I each pick a couple books, put them up for a vote. I think you guys are going to give Andy a complex because I think this is the fourth month in a row.
Well, I already had middle C. So,
yeah, sure. Okay.
But
also,
Kukotsky Enigma, multiple times this year.
Yeah.
And I will sort of do this intentionally. Like when I come over here to record, I'll kind of peruse your bookshelf.
Yeah, okay.
And like try to pick out books that not only that I want to read, but that you have.
So that is the origin of the book club.
Right.
For those that don't know, the book club started with Andy and I going, let's make a list of the books we both already own, and then we can read them together. And now it's turned into an exercise of both of us having to buy books we don't own.
Right.
Because you did go on a streak for a while where like your picks had won 4 or 5 months in a row.
Yeah.
And now it's the pendulum has swung the other way.
But what's crazy about it is like 3 out of the 4 books will be books that I own.
Right. And then it's the one that you don't.
The one that I don't.
Yeah.
Like, or like 3 of the 4 books will be ones that I own, and one of those 3 will be the one that I really want to win.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, I already had middle C.
Yeah.
I really wanted The Public Burning to win.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But like, I've got a 75% chance of not having to buy a book at least.
Yeah. Well, at least you got this on discount.
Yeah.
Because if you're watching this the day that the episode comes out, Open Letter, who's the publisher of this particular edition, is still running their Women in Translation sale, which this will qualify for. So this has been called Unsettling, and for fans of Shirley Jackson, which I think is cool. One of our book club members, Mike D, says that this is fantastic. He was like super excited to reread it because he's already read it, and he's a big fan of Ha Seong-nan's work in general. So I actually read one of these when I first got the book like 2 years ago. I don't really remember much about it, but I was like, I'll just pop it open and read one. And I don't know what happened. I kind of like got distracted by something else and just didn't continue. But I'm looking forward to it. I was surprised that a certain book did not win, and I'm pretty sure it's in your stack.
Yep.
So let's get to that.
I'll just jump right to that book. So going here on out, these are books that I have not read that I would like to read. The book you are talking about is An Oral History of Atlantis by Ed Park. His follow-up to Same Bed, Different Dreams, which we both loved, which I loved.
Yep.
But yeah, this one just seems super fun. So
Ed's Same Bed, Different Dreams was a Pulitzer finalist, and he has been on the podcast. So
he mentioned this while he was on the podcast.
Yeah.
So
my copy of that should be here this week. They're sending me one.
Cool.
They reached out to me and asked me if I wanted a copy of a different book, and I said sure, but can you also send Ed Park's new book to me?
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to reading this one because I loved, like I said, I love Same Bed, Different Dreams. I'm excited for more Ed Park.
Yeah. If you're newer to listening to us babble, you can go back. Our first year of podcasting, we had Ed on around December-ish.
Yeah.
It was towards the end of the year. So you can go find that, or I'll just link it in the show notes. But that book, Same Bed, Different Dreams, was kind of promoted as like Gravity's Rainbow-esque.
Yeah.
Which I think got our interest. But I probably also put some people off because Gravity's Rainbow is infamously an extremely difficult book, and Same Bed, Different Dreams was not the easiest book in the world, but not
certainly easy to follow along. Easier,
much easier. So if you're intimidated, which is totally understandable, by something that is Gravity's Rainbow-esque, you don't have to worry about that. You haven't read any of this yet?
No.
So again, it's kind of like being billed as like postmodern hijinks, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's like overblown.
Yeah.
Because I think Ed's just a great storyteller.
I agree.
So we'll have to see. I'm sure it has postmodern elements. I'm not saying that Ed is incapable of writing that way. Just that I think like sometimes the marketing can miss the mark and put people off that would normally enjoy the work.
Yeah, and I said this when we had him on to discuss Same Bed. I think it's just kind of sort of the nature of the beast of trying to put things in a box to make it easier to market and or sell.
Yeah.
Certainly along with the attachments to Gravity's Rainbow, it was also being called the work of historical fiction, which I didn't really agree with. In the sense that when I think about historical fiction, I think about I'll use like the Revolutionary War, for example. Like it's a story that takes place during the Revolutionary War. It is about the Revolutionary War. Like the characters, the events that follow are participating in the revolution in some way. And there are certainly elements of Same Bed, Different Dreams that had to do with the Korean War, took place during the Korean War, and with the political intrigue that led to it and followed from it. But it was a lot of like, with the exception of the sections that followed the Korean provisional government, like it was mostly it was more like backdrop than the main setting of the book.
Yeah, I agree. I think of historical fiction as something that takes place in a very concrete time or place or about a specific event or a specific people or a specific person.
Yeah.
So I just looked it up. I was kind of blanking on the exact wording of the name, but I read The Pale Blue Eye by Louis Bayard a couple years ago, and that takes place at West Point. It's about a murder that happened. I think it's based on a true story.
That got made into a movie.
It did. The movie's terrible. And Edgar Allan Poe is one of the characters.
Right.
That's a historical fiction to me.
Yeah.
Of course, you can expand that definition out, and I would say maybe make a case for Same Bed, Different Dreams, but then you kind of get into this game of like, well, then technically everything is a historical fiction, unless it's a fantasy or something like that.
Right. Well, we think about something like, and again, apologies for continually using this book as my point of reference, but Gravity's Rainbow takes place during World War II.
Right.
Would you call that a work of historical fiction?
I would not. No.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's
more of like a speculative fiction in the sense that it's kind of like a retelling of reimagining of a historic event.
It's plenty of people have made the case that like, and I largely agree with this, that it's using the events of World War II to examine what was taking place in the United States during the 1960s.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah, you got to be careful of. It doesn't really matter, but again, if you start to play that game, a lot of stuff would qualify. So,
right.
What do you got next? We'll do one more of you before we go back to me.
This is a pocketbook from our good friends at Corona Samizdat. Who eventually we'll need to get Rick on. And Rick, you need to send me that hat. This is An Angel of Sodom by David Vardaman, which I have heard is hilarious.
And this is a true pocketbook.
Yeah, and the title story, the title story certainly falls along the lines of what we were talking about, things being novella length. It's about 100 pages. And then after that, they're mostly 20 to 30 pages each. Some of them looks like 10. That one's about 50. So, yeah, good mix of longer works.
Cool. Next on my list of short stories I'd like to read is Jesus' Son by Denis Johnson. You've read this, correct?
Yes.
And you were kind of mixed on it?
I mean, I thought it was good. I don't have anything negative to say about it. It just didn't really grab me
Sure.
the way Angels did or Tree of Smoke.
Yeah.
But it's certainly a great collection.
Yeah, so at this point, I've just read Tree of Smoke and Train Dreams by Denis Johnson. Enjoyed them both, but I was actually a little surprised by how different the writing is between those two works. And made me interested to read more of him and kind of bump him up the list. Phil in the book club is a very big Denis Johnson fan. He's trying to work his way through all of his works, and he highly rates this as well. So... this is described as Jesus' Son as a visionary chronicle of dreamers, addicts, and lost souls. So Denis Johnson kind of gets put into that grit lit category sometimes, which is cool. I do appreciate that type of writing, even though I'm not necessarily super well versed on it. But I think a lot of people kind of associate the podcast, but also my social media independently of translated works. There's a lot of American literature that I both love and want to read.
Agreed.
And I kind of am having this itch recently to try to dig up some more of those Don Carpenter-esque hidden gems, because I know they're out there.
Yeah.
And this kind of piggybacks off our conversation last week, which maybe some people will be disappointed that we'll touch on. But we kind of talked about how historically there weren't as many publishing opportunities for people that kind of fell outside of the white dude profile, which is absolutely true. And I think that the people who were getting published that weren't white men, their work was probably even more exceptional because it was so good it couldn't be ignored.
Right.
In a lot of instances. But with that said, there is a double-edged sword to this, which is if publishing opportunities are really just kind of being reserved for this certain category of people, it makes it harder for you to then stand out in that group of people because it's very saturated.
Right.
And so I kind of think of it like content creation in a sense, because people look at the financial sector or niche of YouTube, and that has huge payouts in terms of ad revenue. So just a very quick, but I think interesting lesson on how people get paid on YouTube. You watch the videos, advertisers run ads on the videos, and then we get whatever the advertiser has paid to YouTube to run that ad, the creator whose video the ad is running on gets a portion of that. And so you get paid per 1,000 views typically. And the amount that you get paid per 1,000 views, the average, they call it a CPM, is $3 per 1,000 views. So if you average out every YouTube channel that's monetized, financial channels sometimes are making up to $50 per 1,000 views.
Wow.
So big money.
Yeah.
So people go, oh, I want to be in that niche because I can make a ton of money. But now it's so much harder to get people to watch your financial related video because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of channels talking about that topic. So in the book space, we don't have a super high CPM because books just generally aren't that popular of a topic. And advertisers don't really have what products or services are peripheral to reading, not much.
Right.
So on the one hand, we don't have much competition, which is nice, but there's also not a huge market for it. I think with the classic straight white man author, it's you can make the argument that those were the bulk of the people getting the publishing opportunities, but then there were still so many of those people trying to get published. And so how do you stand out? And nepotism exists regardless, right? It's not like it became this meritocracy. It's you still got publishing opportunities based on who you knew or whatever. So there are a lot of hidden gems, I think, in American literature. And I think I would probably put Denis Johnson in that category. I mean, if you are a fairly well-read person, Dennis Johnson's not a hidden gem to you. Like, you know of Dennis Johnson. But I think generally speaking, you could pull 10 people off the street and be like, do you know who Jane Austen is? They'd be like, yeah. Do you know who Dennis Johnson is? No.
Right.
You know, so
Right.
it's just, he's just not that common of a name that comes up, I think, in the reading community. So, anywho's, what you get next?
Up next, I have The World Goes On by Laszlo Krasznahorkai.
Oh, this is a cool looking book.
Yeah. And I believe there were a couple different translators for that one. Let's see. Yeah, so Adelaide Molzet, George Xerxes, and John Botke
Cool.
to be the three translators. Yeah. But yeah, short stories from Krasznahorkai. I don't honestly know a ton about this book, but from what I've heard, it's great. I'll read this little blurb from the back. Each text is about our drawing. This is just a kaleidoscope of text.
Yeah, that's triggering of my ADD.
Yeah, each text is about drawing our attention away from this world, speeding our bodies towards annihilation, and immersing ourselves in a current or of thought or a narrative.
Cool.
So, sounds great. I've heard it's great. I generally love Krasznahorkai. So,
There you go.
what else do you need?
What else do you need? The last book on my list today is Dialogues in Paradise by San Shui, who is a Chinese author. And this is translated by Ronald Jansen and John Zong. And this is published by Northwestern University Press. So I acquired this book because I had reached out to Northwestern University Press and I asked them for a few books that I had seen that I wanted to read. Primarily Paranoia by Viktor Martinovich, which was my pick for Belarus as I read around the world. And the woman who I spoke with at Northwestern University Press, who's awesome, she was like, you have to read San Shui. Like, I'm going to send you this book, even though you didn't ask for it.
Didn't she just win the Nobel Prize?
No.
That was another. You keep talking. I'll look.
I think she's been nominated.
She was nominated. That's.
But, yeah, so she actually sent me two of San Shui's books. One is it's two novellas together. So I guess I probably could have talked about that today. But, yeah, this is a collection of short stories. So I'm curious to read that. Most everyone I've heard talk about San Shui said, like, she's fantastic. I've only heard one person say, like, yeah, it's kind of whatever about it. But, yeah, as you mentioned, I think she's kind of like a perennial, like, Nobel potential.
She was She was the Hong Kong one in 2024.
Yes.
She was one of the favorites.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I don't really know too much about it other than I've enjoyed pretty much all the Chinese literature that I've read and that people highly rate San Shui. But again, I think I've been kind of like dragging my feet on it just because I'm not a huge short story reader. Yeah. But considering the girth of some of the books I've got going on right now, I'll probably read quite a few short stories this month in addition to Flowers of Mold for the book club. So
cool.
What do you got, Lex? Your last one?
My last one is Last Stories and Other Stories by William T. Vollmann.
What a name.
So more or less ghost stories from Vollmann. I'll read the first sentence of the synopsis. Are ghosts memories, fantasies, or monsters? Is there life and death? These eerie tales, linked by themes of loss and trauma, of love, death, and the erotic, all focus on the attempts of the living to avoid, control, or even seduce death.
Wow.
So,
sign me up.
Sounds good.
Yep.
I love Vollmann.
You love Vollmann.
Sounds cool. This was a gift from a friend.
Cool.
Want to check it out?
He's got quite a few books published by Penguin.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, as you can tell, we're not short story experts. So drop your favorite short stories or short story collections down below. Make some recommendations. If you're a regular listener, I hope at this point you have a pretty good grasp on what we like so you guys can make some recommendations. And I don't have anything else to say to you.
Neither do I.
Join us next week when we'll be talking about books.